Start recording, please. Okay, for the recording, I have to repeat this. So in the last class, we had the HTML form. We created a form inside that. And then we also had an external style sheet linked. And for a change, I'll be doing the assignment. And the assignment says that, get the file, get the latest code and everything. And then apply 2 pixels of border to the form field. Now, I have form here, line number 30. And it has a name called new license form. Now, since there is no other form in my page, I can simply say form and then apply the style that I want to apply. Okay. The only drawback to this kind of approach is that this will apply to all the forms. So like, for example, let's say to apply the border, the style is border separated by a column, and the style is 2 pixel space solid space the color. In this case, I want to have a black. Now what does this mean? Let me run this and I'll show you. Okay, this added a bright like a black line across the form. So if I inspect element on that and if I select the form, you will see that it applied the color, the style called border, which has the value 2 pixels solid and then the color. There is this triangle thingy. If I expand that, you will see these many styles being applied when I say simple border. Okay, what does this mean is the style border consists of all the border related styles. Okay, meaning there is border style, there is border color, okay, there is border image, believe it or not, and then there is border size, border width, so many. There are so many. Okay, but if I keep on writing like this for each for a single border entity, my style file, my style sheet file will increase, right? I can write like border style, uh, then I can say then border width or border image. So what I'm trying to get at is like the number of lines are increasing. At the end of the day, I just want to have 2 pixels of border with color black. That's it. So instead of writing all this, we can compress it or merge it into one line, and the keyword is border. Okay, the first statement that it takes is always the width of the border. In this case, it's 2 pixels. The second is the style of the border. Is it going to be dashed? Is it going to be dot? Is it going to be a solid line? And then finally, the color. What happens if I mess it up? Meaning, first I have color, the style, then I have the color, and then I have 2 pixels. Let's see what happens. Does it going to make any difference? Looks like it's not. Okay. If I expand this, it is still taking the width, it's still taking the style. So no matter what order you follow, the style will still get applied. Okay, but the developers convention, okay, developers convention is that you always put the measurement first and then the style and then finally the color. This is how we follow. All the developers will follow this kind of style approach, and the reason for that is because this makes us understand uh, see what I'm trying to get at is we have to follow one convention, okay? Because let's say if Vishwa is like writing like this, okay, and then oops, and then let's say I'm writing like this. I'm saying like, the first is color, then I'll say solid, then I'll say 2 pixels, and let's say Bhumika is saying, I'll write first color, then I'll say 2 pixels, and then I'll say solid, something like that. All of these are correct, okay, but we need to follow one convention. Well, you can say one standard, because if everyone is going to write their own way, sometimes it is kind of hard to keep track what exactly styles, because I can always have an image now. I can put an image at the end. I'll say some image.png. So you see, like, there is no standard we are following here. So to overcome these issues, all developers all around the world they follow a kind of small convention, and the convention is, the first is the dimension, the next is the style, and finally the color. Okay, so the convention is the convention, or the what do you call it, is like border, then colon. First one is the dimension, space, style, space, color, and then semicolon. We follow this convention. Okay, so now if I save this, if I refresh, it will still work. Okay, so that was the first assignment that I asked you to do. The second one is, if you have any breakpoints after the we basically wants to have this input fields below those, right? Now this becomes a little trickier, because our labels, if I go back and inspect element, our labels are basically spans. No, spans meaning they are inline element. Okay. Now, what does inline element, if you go back to the class of HTML, we have inline element which takes the dimension of the inner child. In this case, we have only text as the inner child, so it's going to take the width. So now, and this input field is also, you can say, an inline element. Okay. So basically, we need to either create this inline element into a block level element so that it takes up the entire width, or we make this input field as the block level element. And someone in the class, when we were dealing with HTML, asked in the class that is it possible to convert an inline element to a block level element, or a block level element into inline level element? And at that time I said, yes, it's possible. It's only possible from the style sheet. And to do that, we will show now how to do it. Now I want all the labels to be block level, so that this input field will come down, meaning the width of this label will go complete width of the body, and then automatically that element will push down. This input field will get pushed down. Okay, to do that, I'll select all the labels, because I want all the labels to have the same behavior. And then the keyword to do that is basically display. Display stands for what kind of display you want to have for that element. Okay, we first discussed about border. Oops. Now we'll discuss about display. Display is used to determine the display nature of the element. Okay, we can, like, there are several different ways that we can display an element. Okay, one way is inline. It will make that element inline level element. Okay, in there are several display there are several ways to display an element. One is, okay, one is, come on, what's happening? One is inline. If we say display inline, that means that element will become an inline element. Okay, if I go to the form right now, the form is taking the complete width of the screen. Okay, I don't want it. I want it to take the width based on its element, child elements. So it has like it has these many child elements, but the longest width an element has is the phone number. 4 numbers width is the biggest. Okay, so what happens is, if I say form to display inline, it will take the width of this input, this entire form field. And I'll show you like this: display inline, and hopefully it should work. Hopefully, but it did not. And let's see what exactly happened here. Okay, if I go back to form, you see, do you see right, like do you see this tooltip coming up, like form pink, in pink color form? When I hover over this this form field, okay, right next to it you will see some dimensions: 1584 into 233. Okay, this 1584 stands for the width of my screen, or the width of this browser right now, and 233 stands for the height. This form has a width of 1584 and it has a height of 233, but it is still, the border is kind of suddenly went away. And the reason is because it has a child which is a block level element. And I think I told you when we were dealing with the inline and block level elements, is that a block level element can have a child as inline element, but an inline level element should not have a block element as its child. If you put it like this, your style sheet will break. And that's exactly what's happening right now. I forcefully said the form to be an inline form, inline level element. So I converted a block level element into an inline level element, but it has a child. You see this, I don't know if you can see this div. It has a child which is a block level element. That's the reason why my inline element, my styles broke on that page. Okay, so be very careful when you are writing your inline level elements versus a block level elements. In my HTML form, I've used, this is a block, but label and input fields are inline. So that's why they're child of a block level element, right? Inside my label, I never said div. That is wrong. Lexically, programmatically wrong. It will break your CSS. Okay, so be careful when you're writing inline versus block level elements. This is kind of important. Okay, but if I look back, the style that I applied, display inline, it applied to it. నేను ఈ డిస్ప్లే కీవర్డ్ వాడి ఒక బ్లాక్ లెవెల్ ఎలిమెంట్ ని నేను ఇన్లైన్ లో కన్వర్ట్ చేసేస్తున్నాను. That means నా నా ఇన్లైన్ స్టైల్స్ పనిచేస్తున్నాయి, ఆ కన్వర్షన్ పనిచేస్తున్నది. నేను ఒక సక్సెస్ఫుల్లీ నేను ఒక బ్లాక్ లెవెల్ ఎలిమెంట్ ని ఇన్లైన్ లో కన్వర్ట్ చేసిన. ఈవెన్ దో నా పేజ్ బ్రేక్ అయింది, బట్ ఆ కన్వర్షన్ అయితే పనిచేస్తున్నది. దట్ మీన్స్ ఈ స్టైల్ होल्ड्स. ओके, भले मेरा पेज ब्रेक हो गया है, बट मैंने सक्सेसफुली एक ब्लॉक लेवल एलिमेंट को इनलाइन लेवल एलिमेंट में कन्वर्ट किया है. ओके, so that is one of the style, inline styles. Okay, the second one is block level style. Okay, now in this case, for the time being, I will take out this display. Okay, and by the way, in CSS, okay, again in CSS, the comment is /* and then end it by */. So in this case, if I select this is how you put a comment in CSS. Okay, and in this one also I can have like this: to do address back this display. When I do that, it will convert to blue color, and then there is a to do tooltip. So this is how you write a comment in CSS. You start with //, then a star, and then you end it with a star and then /. Okay, now coming back, a block works the opposite way, meaning if I want to convert an inline level element into a block level element, I will say block. In this case, the label is an inline. I'll change it to block, and let's see what happens. Suddenly these input fields are now at the bottom. Why? Because I said my labels to be a block level element, and when I say the block level element, it will take the width of its immediate parent. A block level element takes the dimensions, both width and height, from its immediate parent. Immediate parent's div width is the entire screen, the blue mark, that's the width. You see that 1563, that is the width of the div. So the label, it will also take the width of 1563. So a block level element takes the width of its immediate parent. Okay, and the input field is also, for the time being, is inline level element. It's not a block level element. Okay, now since if you remember from the HTML, when it comes to a block level element, I can specify the dimensions to that particular element. That being said, I can now mess or change the dimensions of the label, and we'll do that moving forward. The next display type is inline block. Come on. Inline block. Inline block, as the name suggests, is the both inline as well as block, meaning it will try to take the width of its child, the dimensions of its child, but it will also take the dimensions from its immediate parent. And the beauty of this inline block is that it's going to average out between the two. So let's say in this case, the div is 1563. Okay, and now label, inside that the text is only this much. So what it's going to do is, if I say label to be inline block, let's see what happens. refresh. What happened just now is that it took the average from the inline dimensions. Like at this point, since the width is only this applicant's first name, that is the child of the label, it took that width and then it took the immediate width of the div and then it made the average. Now the average comes to the width of whatever the width of the applicant's first name text is. So that's why it added that width back. Okay. To show you the other way around, let's do this. Instead of label, let me capture the div and then say display inline block. Because right now the div takes the entire screen width, right? The entire screen width. Because its immediate parent is form, the form width is this 1584. So this div is taking the width of its immediate parent. So what happens if I say display inline block? Now what happened is the div, it took its inner childs, which are label and the input field. It took the width of those and the biggest width. The input field has the biggest width. And then it took the form width and then it averaged it out. When it did the averaging out, it found out that the width that input field has, that's the most accurate and the nearest value. And then it added the entire width of that div to be that. Okay, this is how this inline block works. It basically, you can say basically indirectly, it will add both inline level features and the block level features into that same element. Okay, that is your inline. I think the next one is display as table. Instead of showing from the CSS here, I will directly show it from your terminal, like from your terminal field, because the most standards are the first three. You'll be converting one block level element into an inline element into block, and you'll be using the average as inline block. Okay. Coming to the next table, I think there is another one called flex, and then finally there is none. I don't want you to show any element at all. The display is none. Okay, I'll show that in a minute. Let's go back to Chrome. If I change this inline here, okay, if I say it table, what it will try to do is it will basically treat this element as a table and then make that element as a row of the table. Okay, since its immediate parent takes the full screen width, it will go back to its inner child, meaning the lesser, who has the less width value, does the parent or the inner child. If the inner child is less than the parent, then its own width will be the width of the inner child. If the parent width is smaller than its child, then it will take the width of the parent. That's how the table rows work. You basically define uh, the dimensions of the table. Okay. So how table works is basically, go back to Paint. Let's say I have a table like this, right? You have some rows and then you have columns. Okay. In order to define this width of each row, this is row. Okay. The red mark is a row and the green mark is the column. Okay, to define the width of each row, the red color row, you need to first define the width of the entire table. You need to show what is the width of the table. That is the parent, right? So you first say the entire table width should be, let's say, 200 pixels or 500 pixels. But if the content of the row is more than 300 pixels, for example, which is greater than the width of the table, what row will do is it will take the width of the child because that's the biggest. That's the biggest value. And it will break the width of the table. Kind of similar way, the display table in our HTML works the opposite way, meaning it will check for the lowest value if the table has the lowest value or if the inner value has the lowest value, and then basically it will display it in a rowish manner, in a row manner. Okay, that is display. Next is flexible. Flexible is something that the flex keyword is stands for flexibility. It basically checks for the will tell the browser to, based on your flexibility, you justify the dimensions of that element. Okay, this is dangerous. Dealing with flexibility is kind of dangerous because if, let's say, the parent is an inline element, then this flexible elements right now I just have the width of, you see, when I say flex, it's taking the width of the entire screen. But if I go back and say inline, so what will happen is the flexibility is given to the browsers. Browsers makes out its own flexibility. Now Chrome might behave like this. IE might behave on its own way, or Safari will behave its own way. So we need to careful to say the browser that based on your flexibility, you do whatever you want to do. Okay, this is dangerous. We don't use this more often. You will not see this more often. Okay, and then finally we have display none, meaning don't display that element at all. So if I hover over this div, you will not see the, like how you see the form bluish in color. You will not even see those div and all its child. Since div is the parent, all its child will be hidden. It will not be even there. That's what this display none means. Clear? అర్థమైందా? మన దగ్గర ఇట్లా 6 ఆప్షన్స్ ఉన్నాయి. ఓకే, HTML5 లో ఇంకా ఇంట్రడ్యూస్ చేస్తున్నారు వాళ్ళు ఇంకా, కానీ ఈ 6 వచ్చేసి డిఫాల్ట్ అన్నమాట. ఒకటి వచ్చేసి ఇన్లైన్. ఒక ఎలిమెంట్ ని నేను ఇన్లైన్ లెవెల్ ఎలిమెంట్ లో మారాలి అంటే మార్పించాలి అంటే నేను ఇన్లైన్ అని కీవర్డ్ వాడతా. సిమిలర్లీ ఒక ఇన్లైన్ ఎలిమెంట్ ని బ్లాక్ లెవెల్ ఎలిమెంట్ లో కన్వర్ట్ చేయాలంటే నేను బ్లాక్ అని కీవర్డ్ వాడతా. ఓకే, ఇన్లైన్ బ్లాక్ వచ్చేసి it will basically put the styles of both inline and block, కానీ it will try to average out based on its inner child dimensions and the parent dimension, immediate parent dimensions. యావరేజ్ అవుట్ తీసేసి ఏ దగ్గరైనా కనిపిస్తే ఆ స్టైల్స్ అది పెట్టేస్తుంది. నెక్స్ట్ ఇస్ ద టేబుల్. ఒక ఎలిమెంట్ ని మొత్తంగా టేబుల్ రోస్ లో ఎట్లా కన్వర్ట్ చేస్తాము డైమెన్షన్స్ గా, అట్లా కన్వర్ట్ చేయడానికి చేస్తుంది. ఓకే, అండ్ దెన్ నెక్స్ట్ వచ్చేసి ఫ్లెక్సిబిలిటీ. ఫ్లెక్సిబుల్ అంటే మనం బ్రౌజర్ ని చెప్తున్నాం నీ ఫ్లెక్సిబిలిటీ ఉన్నట్టు. అంటే నీకు ఇప్పుడు నా ల్యాప్టాప్ స్క్రీన్ విడ్త్ వచ్చేసి 1584 పిక్సెల్స్ అన్నమాట. కానీ మీ ల్యాప్టాప్ లో వచ్చేసి 2500 అవ్వచ్చు, లేకపోతే 600 అవ్వచ్చు. చెప్పలేం, మొబైల్ డివైస్ లో చేస్తున్నా అంటే అది 600 ఉంటుంది కదా, అట్లా ఉండొచ్చు. సో ఫ్లెక్సిబిలిటీ అంటే మనం బ్రౌజర్ ని చెప్తున్నాం అనమాట, నీ ఇష్టం వచ్చినట్టు నువ్వు పెట్టుకో, నీ ఫ్లెక్సిబిలిటీ పైన నువ్వు ఆ ఎలిమెంట్ ని రెండర్ చేసుకో. ఇది డేంజరస్. అట్లా ఇది వాడుతున్నాము అంటే కొంచెం ఆలోచించండి, ఎందుకు వాడాలి. ఏదైనా ఆల్టర్నేట్ ఉంటే ఆల్టర్నేట్ వాడండి, కానీ ఇది వాడొద్దు ఎక్కువ. ఆ ఆప్షన్ ఇచ్చారు మనకి, కానీ వాడొద్దు. అండ్ ఇంకా లాస్ట్ లో వచ్చేసి నన్ ఏంటంటే బేసిక్లీ అసలు రెండరే చేయొద్దు, మొత్తం తీసేయండి. మనం ఒకసారి డిస్ప్లే నన్ చెప్పామంటే it will apply none to all its inner childs. All the childs will be set to none. Clear? Did you guys understand the different ways of display? Do you want me to explain in Hindi also? Or should I move forward? और भी डिस्प्लेस हैं, ओके, और भी डिस्प्लेस हैं, बट वो सब नए HTML5 में इंट्रोड्यूस हो रहे हैं. बट हमको उस पे मतलब you don't need to pay attention to the new style elements that they are introducing, because these are the basic ones and you will be dealing with these basics heavily. Okay, you will not be dealing with the new styles anytime soon. Okay, so now all of those fields come below the label. That was the second assignment, I think. And then finally, do your research and then make the submit button look like this and then cancel button as red. Okay, now I know what style for cancel button is. Now if I scroll back here, if I look like this, I have this button type submit and then ID as submit. Similarly, I have a type reset and then ID as reset. Now if I say, based on this assignment, since till now what I have been doing, if I say button and say color. Now let me read the assignment again. Do your research and then use hex color. Make sure that the cancel button is red. Okay, cancel button is red. Now if I say button and if I say color to be RGB, right, so FF0000, that's red. If I do that, what will happen is it's applying the color to the letters. It's applying color to the letters. Now I did not ask that. I said I want the button to be color, not the text. And also this is applying color. If I simply say button, it is applying that color to both the buttons. Even that is not correct. I don't want that. So the style that I have here, that's completely incorrect. Okay, so I need to grab my cancel button only to get that style added. Now there are two ways you can do this: by getting this type or by getting this ID. Okay, now let's see how we can get the ID. We can capture the attributes of HTML in our CSS file to apply styles to that particular element. ఓకే, ఇప్పటి వరకు నేను చెప్పిన అన్ని స్టైల్స్ వచ్చేసి మొత్తం ఎలిమెంట్ ని అప్లై చేస్తున్నది. ఓకే, కానీ ఇప్పుడు లెట్స్ సే నా దగ్గర 2 బటన్లు ఉన్నాయి కదా, నేను ఇప్పుడు బటన్ పట్టుకొని నేను స్టైల్ అప్లై చేస్తే అది అన్ని బటన్స్ కి అప్లై చేస్తున్నది. అది కాదు నాకు కావాల్సింది. నాకు ఒక పర్టికులర్ ఎలిమెంట్ కే అప్లై చేయాలి ఆ స్టైల్. సో దట్ ఈస్ మై టాస్క్ నెంబర్ 1. that should be my ఫస్ట్ ప్రయారిటీ యూ కెన్ సే. అయితే ఏంటంటే HTML నుంచి అట్రిబ్యూట్స్ అయితే ఉంటాయో అది మనం CSS లోపల క్యాప్చర్ చేసుకోవచ్చు. ఓకే, that is the flexibility that I was given. ओके, हम लोग HTML के जो एट्रीब्यूट्स होते हैं, जितने भी एट्रीब्यूट्स हैं, अभी जैसे लेबल का है, ये फॉर है, इनपुट का है, ये टाइप है, फिर आईडी भी है, फिर नेम भी है, हम लोग इन एट्रीब्यूट्स को पकड़ के उस पर्टिकुलर एलिमेंट को స్టైల్స్ దే सकते हैं. ఆ పర్టికులర్ ఎలిమెంట్ ని స్టైల్ ఇవ్వాలంటే నేను ఆ అట్రిబ్యూట్ ని పట్టుకోవచ్చు, ఏదైనా అట్రిబ్యూట్, అది మన ఇష్టం. ఓకే, అండ్ ఇన్ దిస్ కేస్ I want to target, like I have only two attributes, so I'll be targeting on ID for first. Okay, next one is capturing via ID. In CSS, to capture an ID, we use hashtag as the suffix, meaning अगर मुझे ये ID reset पकड़ना है तो मैं क्या करूंगा, मैं लिखूंगा hashtag, then मैं लिखूंगा reset. Hashtag means it's an ID and then reset. What will happen is when browser reads this CSS file, okay, it will look for this hashtag. Then when I say hashtag, the browser will say, oh, I need to look for an ID whose value is reset. So it will go back to HTML and then it will come down, and then when it finds this element which has ID whose values is reset, it will then apply the style, whatever style I'm going to write here. So now if I have that color hashtag FF0000, if I write like this, what will happen is it will apply style to that particular element only. Okay, this is how we can capture IDs. And as I mentioned in HTML classes, IDs are always unique. They have unique values. I should not have basically another ID with the same value. If I do it, duplicate ID references. If I do this, the browser will render it. It's not wrong, but it will apply styles to both. As I said, lexically it's wrong. Okay, browser will still go ahead and it will render it. But if this is lexically wrong or programmatically wrong, so IDs are unique. That means this hashtag reset is going to be only once. Okay, in the CSS, I should not be writing like this, duplicate. I should not be saying like this. How many F's I have? Too many F's. Okay, I should not be writing like this. That is wrong. Okay, clear guys? We should not be duplicating the styles for your IDs. It will still render it, it will still do it, but programmatically it's wrong. Okay, down the road, when you're writing like dealing with actual real-time projects, if you duplicate IDs, CSS also, your page will kind of broke in between, and you will not understand why it's happening like that, because somewhere you have duplicate IDs. Meaning I have two CSS files. So inside my one CSS file, I have ID class something like ID style like this, and in another CSS file, I also have another ID, and then I have also style. I mean, that's wrong. You should have only one ID reference throughout your page, throughout your entire project. You should not create another ID references. Okay, clear? So this is how we capture IDs. And I have seen so many students, they have IDs added to this, like since I have ID to each and every input field, they are capturing this ID like last name, then phone number, then male, and then female, and they are basically applying the styles. Okay, that is also correct. That's not wrong. Okay, you can totally do that. The other way is by this type reset. In my, so since IDs in this entire HTML, ID can be only once. So this style will hold once. But if you are capturing by the type reset, I cannot use the keyword reset, and then there is no symbol. Like how we have this hash for IDs, there is no symbol for type. Okay. So to avoid that approach, we can say, let me take out this reset now, or not take out, I'll comment it out. We can say that I have a button, then use square brackets and say which has type as reset, and then I'll say the color. What this means is that we are telling the browser that look for a button, a specific button. When I'm saying a specific button, that means I'm saying I'm including this square brackets. Okay, element, then square brackets means target a specific element of the target that specific element. Okay, Shrikar, how you gave comment to all of the lines in a single click? It's an IntelliJ feature. Yeah, it's an IntelliJ feature, and the keyboard shortcut is Control, Shift, and forward slash. Control, Shift, forward slash. Again, Control, Shift, forward slash. You can also get that if you go to code, comment block. You see this Control, Shift, slash. That's how that's how you do it. Okay. If I have only one line, then I can see Control slash. It should work actually, but it's not because it's on Windows. Anyways, yeah, but it's Control Shift slash forward slash. Okay. So as I was saying, if you want to target, if you don't have any ID, if you don't have any other attribute, you have just one attribute, you can say that, element, name of that element, then target that by specifying square brackets, and then the value of that attribute. In this case, I have a type whose value is reset. And if I say like this, it will apply styles to that cancel. Okay. But the drawback of this is that if let's say the submit button has the reset type, for example, okay, this will apply styles to all the type which is reset. Okay. Can we add two types at the same time? Yeah, I'm getting there. Alike. I'm getting there. So clear. If I say button type reset, it will apply to all the type which are reset types. In this case, I change the submit to reset, but it will also apply that way. Okay, clear? So I can capture by ID. I can also capture by type. There is no special character available for us to capture the type. So I'll be saying type reset. Okay, let's come back to the form. I can apply this style to the form, or I can, or let's say I'll collapse this, okay, for the timing. Let's say I have another form. Okay, I'll do a breakpoint, and then I'll create a form. Now this one name is, let's say, Shrikar form, let's say, and then this one also has a input field, some input, and then let's just say I have just an input field, type text. Okay, now if I refresh, you will see two forms, but now I just want the border to the first form. I don't want the border to the second form. So what will I do is, if I go back to the form, I will target by its name, because names are unique now. This one has Shrikar form, this one has the new license form. So I'll copy this. I will go back here, go back to form, square brackets, and I'll target only to license form. Okay. And also we discussed about inline block. So now I'll say display inline block. And then if I go back, only the first form we will get the style. The second form is not going to get the style. Okay. I can capture the second form by this name equal to Shrikar form, and then I say border 2 pixels. I want it to be dotted, and then this one has the color uh, um, green, or like, yeah, green. And if I go back and refresh it, you will see like this. Can you see the green color? This is how we target based on the attributes. Okay. Can we use this type equal to kind of style for other elements too? See, Bhumika, the thing is, this type equal to is a specific attribute, meaning this type of attribute is only available for the input type and the buttons. Only these elements have that type attribute. So what I'm trying to get at is, whatever the element you have, look for its attributes. It can be any attribute. Okay. Let's say inside the form, right, I created an attribute called Shrikar, and then let's say its value is something like, let's say, Vishwa. Sorry. Okay. Let's assume that. So I'll get this Shrikar. Instead of saying name, I'll say Shrikar, whose value is Vishwa. And let's see what happens. Is it going to work or not? It did work. So this attribute Shrikar doesn't exist. I mean, in the HTML library, it doesn't exist. I created something nonsense. Whose value is Vishwa? With this attribute and value, this will work. If I change the value, let's say I have the attribute called Shrikar, but its value is not Vishwa, it's, let's say, Bhumika. Let's say. Now, there is no element in my HTML which has an attribute called Shrikar. I have a Shrikar attribute here, but its value is not Bhumika, its value is Vishwa. So if I do that, the style will go away now, because we have not captured, or we have not focused on that particular element. We focused on some other element whose attributes value is Bhumika, not Vishwa. And that element doesn't exist in this HTML file. Maybe it exists in another HTML file inside which you are sourcing the same style sheet file. Okay, so this is how it will work. Now the keyword type, this type is specific to buttons input fields. Okay, other elements, they don't have this attributes called type. Okay, clear guys, అర్థమైందా? మీరు ఎట్లా attributes ని capture చేసుకోవచ్చు? ठीक है, समझ में आया कि कैसे attributes करते हैं capture? ये काफी useful है because you will not keep on writing, IDs for every element. Like in my case, I don't have IDs to this div. Yeah, see, I don't have IDs to this div or even this form. So we can capture its attributes. Okay, if an element doesn't have attributes, like for example, if you have this article, right? If you, let's say you have multiple articles and none of the articles has any attributes, then you are screwed. You cannot capture that particular element. Okay, there are other ways of doing that, and I will explain you in the next classes. But as of right now, there is no way. You're screwed. So you need to specify some sort of attribute to that particular element. If not, it will apply styles to all the articles. Okay, clear guys, clear in the example. Okay, clear in the. Do you want me to repeat? Okay. Okay, clear. Okay, good. అర్థం కాకపోతే నాకు మళ్ళీ అడగండి, నేను చెప్తాను మళ్ళీ, because this is it's little bit important, kind of. Okay, because you will be seeing heavily in the projects, people will be um, calling it based on their attributes. Okay, so that being said, I have one small thing. Hold on just a second. Trying to add both button equal to submit and reset at once. I'll get that. Yeah, I'll get that, Alikya. Yeah, you can do it. Yes, it's possible. I'll get to it. Hold on. Days ago, I don't remember who, but they asked about custom data attributes. Sorry, who was that? Neha, was that you or?
Me. It was Sarika.
Sarika. Okay. Sorry, here, Sarika. Looks like she's not in this class. Okay.
I'm here.
Oh, you're here. Okay, so it was you who asked it, right? Like, what are custom data attributes in HTML, right? As I said that during that time, I said it like, when we are dealing with CSS and JavaScript, I'll come to your custom data attributes. But for now, let's move on. At that time, I said it. See, the custom data attributes is what the example I have like Shrikar. Okay, in HTML's library, the HTML, like how it has elements and attributes, the Shrikar keyword doesn't exist. So to create our own custom data attribute which will have a value, we specify it by the column with the keyword data, then hyphen, and then we will give it whatever name we want to give to this attribute. So I'm telling HTML that you need to create a Shrikar attribute which is going to hold some data. And in this case, I have Vishwa as its value, or I can have a value like 3, numerical value 3, or I can have values like Vishwa. Okay. When we are dealing with JavaScript, I'll talk about JavaScript, but when it comes to CSS, this is exactly how we capture the custom data attributes. We will say, what is that? Form, right? So we'll go to form, and then we'll say, I'm looking for this kind of data type, the data attribute whose value is Vishwa. Okay, and then make its input field like this. It will still work. So this custom data attributes, when it comes to style sheets, it is used like this. Okay, when we are dealing with JavaScripts, we will be getting its value. Right now the value is Vishwa. We will capture the value Vishwa. And mainly you use these attributes in input fields, guys. Actually speaking, you put it in this in mostly in this input fields. So what happens is whatever the user is typing or entering in this field, in this input type, that will be stored in this Vishwa value, and then we can reference this Vishwa keyword in our JavaScripts and then basically manipulate the data whatever we want to do. So that's how the custom data attributes work. So if I go back, now I added this data shriker to input field to the checkbox. So now what will happen is the form, the form also has that. So if I take it out and refresh it, you will not see that. But even the checkbox, you will not see it. And the reason is because my style points to form element, not an input element. So if I say input, hopefully you should be able to see it. I don't know if you can, it gets covered behind this checkbox design, but uh, it has that border. Okay, if I looked at inspect element, it has that border. It's just that the design of that checkbox is such a way that it's hiding it behind that. Okay, so that's how you target the custom data attributes in CSS, in style sheets. Okay, clear, guys? Okay, now there is this small thing like let's say I have this input type texts. Okay. Oh, sorry. Hold on. I did not complete my assignment now. The cancel button should be red. Okay. But in my case, when I go back and refresh it, I see that the text changes to red color, not the button. And the reason is because this button, this grayish behind the text, this border with like, border light thingy, that is behind the text. Or you can say that is the background of that text. So every element in HTML, okay, has a background. Okay. The background works similarly. Okay. Every element in HTML has a background. Okay. The styles to background are similar to border, meaning instead of having a color, I want to have a background color. I want the background of that button to be the red color. When I do that and go back here and then run it, now you see the button is reddish in color. But it is really hard for me to read the cancel word. So I'll come back to foreground, which is the actual color, and then make it as white. Or red in, like black in red, I can't read it, but white in red, I can read it. That's how I'll basically read it. And now this element also has a border, So I'll go for border this time. Okay. And by the way, I have this border background hyphen color. I can also say like this, background as color, because it does the same exact thing what the border does. Okay. If I want to change only the color of the border, I'll simply capture the border color and then change it to white if I want to. And when I do that, I don't know if you can see it. Let me change to black. Maybe you'll be able to see it. Oh, oops, not duplicate. Save. Can you see the black now? Can you let me zoom if you can see it. Can you see it now? I have like a blackish border to that cancel button. Okay, so I can mess around with buttons behavior like that. And this is basically what my assignment was, getting something like this. Clear, guys? I just want to show you one small trick here. You see, I'm adding multiple styles inside that curly braces, right? I have some background color, I have some color, I have some border color, all of those, one after the other. The ordering doesn't matter. I can write color first, background color, border color, in any sequence, it doesn't matter. But you can see I can have multiple colors or multiple styles within the same style block, right? Now, if I go back here and if I target, I'll take out this form now, I don't need it. If I go back here and if I say style, and if I say I want this background to have black color, and as I told you that inline style or at the attribute level styles takes the first priority. That means this will now apply to the button. Okay. But if I inspect element on that particular element, you will see something. You will see that only the background color was overwritten. Everything else was applied, right? Only the background color got overwritten. The color and the border color were still got applied. This is what cascading means. Okay. Previously, I said cascading also means that one style will be written after the other in a stack, in a hierarchical stack. Okay, and the inline or the attribute level will take the highest priority. It will come at the top. Okay, but cascading also, with that definition, with also adds to the fact that it will not ignore any other styles. It's going to apply all the styles it's going to find. Now here in the inline, I have only background color. Now if I say color to be red, okay, what will happen is the border color will still stay the same. Both the background and the color will get overwritten. So if I refresh, this is how it's going to work. So this is what cascading of styles mean. Okay, be like clear about it. Okay, don't get confused. Cascading of the styles is important. Okay, if you find an element style is getting overwritten but all the other styles are still acting, that means it has an inline or attribute level styles somewhere in the HTML document. Okay, remember that. This is how the cascading of styles work. Okay, and Okay, clear guys? Understood? Now let's say I want to add a style to the first name input field and the last name input field. Only to those two. Okay, only to those two. I can do it by saying ID first name. So what I'll do is I'll basically go and say hashtag first name, then apply the style. The style is background. I want it to be green in color. Okay, and then I have the last name like this. Okay, okay. Why it is not working? So let's investigate why. Oh, it is right. Why? Let's investigate why it is not working. I'll inspect element on this guy. I see that there is a background color white applied at the inline level. So I'll go back. I'll see I have a style white color and I'll remove it. This is how you debug your CSS. Okay, you just simply inspect element on that and then you will see what is the color applying to that stack. Now I can have multiple IDs and I can apply like this. This is painful, right? Because if I have like 5 more elements, I need to basically add it like that. I'll keep on adding. I'll say like I have the phone number. I have to say like phone number. The number of lines are increasing. Instead of that, and they all have the same style. Like most of you who have done the assignments, you did the same thing. Like you captured the IDs and then you try to add the CSS to each of these. Since the styles is not going to change, what I can do is I can use it in a single line. Meaning, let's capture the first name. Okay, I'll have the first name. Now I want to add the same style which has the background green. Okay, this is the background green. I want to add the same styles to last name. So what will I do is I'll say simply comma and then the next element like this. So the comma separates the element but it applies the same styles to both of these elements. Now if I go back and if refresh, it will still work. Okay, let's say I want to have a border, okay, of 1 pixel solid and red color, okay, FF0000, okay, like this. But now I want to have a rounded, like this is rectangle border, like this is rectangle element, right? The border is rectangular. Now I just want the last name to have the rounded. So I can do is simply say underscore last name and here I'll say border radius and have 5 pixels or 10 pixels. What this will do is, thanks to the cascading style sheets concept, the last name will get background color, the border color from this style block. It will also get the border radius 10 pixels from this style block. Let's see that in action. if I inspect element on this guy, you will see that the last name, the style got added, but it also got the border radius. I think 10 pixels is too much, so let me reduce it to 5. Okay, so this is how you basically add, like if the same style, ఒకే స్టైల్ అంటే కొన్ని స్టైల్స్ ఉన్నాయి, అవే స్టైల్ రిపీట్ అవుతున్నాయి అంటే మల్టిపుల్ ఎలిమెంట్స్ లో మనం ఏం చేస్తామంటే ఎలిమెంట్స్ ని కామా సెపరేట్ చేసేసి ఆ స్టైల్ మనం దాని లోపల రాసిస్తాం. అయితే ఏమవుతుందంటే ఆ స్టైల్ వచ్చేసి అన్ని ఎలిమెంట్స్ కి అప్లై అవుతాయి. ఓకే, ఏదైనా స్టైల్ ఒక పర్టికులర్ ఎలిమెంట్ లో అప్లై చేయాలంటే ఇప్పుడు ఈ కేసులో ఏంటంటే సేమ్ ఎలిమెంట్ లాస్ట్ నేమ్ got repeated in line number 29, also in line number, like I just want to apply like an extra style in the list of all those styles, then I can simply write it at the bottom like this and it will work. Okay, now you may say like, you are duplicating the IDs. True, I'm duplicating the IDs, but I'm not duplicating the styles. Meaning this ID was a part of a list, and here the ID is standalone. That's why I was able to get it like this. Okay, or if you don't like this, you can also say like this: input square brackets, and you can say name equal to last name. If you are not convinced with my argument saying that, hey, you are duplicating the IDs, this is wrong, well, okay, even your argument is right, I can also write like this and it will still work. I want to have this 5 pixels. I think I have the name wrong, right? Oh, it's L name, my bad. See, name is L name and it will work. So the arguments holds good and also the styles get applied. So this is how you add multiple styles. Clear, guys? Any questions? అర్థమైందా కాన్సెప్ట్? లైక్ మీరు మల్టిపుల్ స్టైల్ అంటే ఒకే స్టైల్ ని మల్టిపుల్ ఎలిమెంట్స్ లో ఎట్లా పెడతారు? రెండోది, how do you capture it? By the attributes. Okay, how do you convert an inline level element to a block level element and so forth? Okay, clear? Okay, in tomorrow's class, again tomorrow is going to be the same 10 a.m. till 12 p.m. Pacific time. In tomorrow's class, we will discuss more about more display features, and then we will also look into something called as box model. What exactly is a box model? Okay, we'll look into that. There's not going to be any assignment today, but tomorrow I'll give you an assignment which will include this like concepts of this and the box models and concepts of other displays that we can use inside our CSS. Okay, does anyone has any questions right now?
Sarika here.
Sorry?
Sarika.
Oh yeah, tell me.
Yeah. In HTML5 we have local storage, session storage, SVG, canvas. So when you are going to cover that topic,
Local storages and session storages are part of JavaScript. I'm not going to capture those right now.
Okay.
SVGs and all those, I want you to read it. I will not cover it.
Okay.
If you have any questions on SVGs, feel free to ask it in the group. I'll cover it in the class. But as I said, I think when we covered HTML, I said like there are so many elements and concepts out there in HTML. I will not be capturing all of those because we don't have that much time, honestly speaking. I got 1 month time to cover like, all the concepts like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, jQuery, AngularJS, Node.js, mean stuff. The list is so big. I cannot cover all those. So I said like, you can always go to this w3schools.com and then read it on your own. Read the article, do the research and everything. And if you don't understand one particular concept, like in your case, you said uh, Canvas and SVGs and all that, you just read this, what exactly it does and how it is doing. And as you can see, it clearly says that HTML Canvas is used to draw graphics via JavaScript. So there is a JavaScript involved here. And that's the reason why I did not touch it. But again, I want you guys to read it on your own on this article. And if you don't understand, you can come and ask me in the group. But I will not be covering all this. So local and session storage, yes, those are a part of JavaScript. So yeah, I'll get there when I'm dealing with JavaScript. Okay.
Okay, Sridhar, thank you.
Same thing. Yeah, same thing will go for CSS moving forward. Like I will not be covering all the topics. I'll be giving you assignments to read some articles on your own, do your research and all that. And after some point, at the end of the class, I'll say like, some of the topics you can go to this W3 Schools website again, and then basically go to the CSS and read all those. Because the list is so big, I seriously cannot cover all this. I will cover some of the main key points, which will basically will be useful when you're writing, for your websites. Like in any company, okay, I'll tell you one small thing though. In any company, you will not be dealing with canvases or graphics or SVGs, honestly speaking. But it's good to have, like, you should know about it. That doesn't mean you should not know about it. Okay.
But the thing is, they are focusing in interviews. They are focusing more on Canvas and SVG. Like if I tell like some definition, something what I read in the, I mean,
Yeah,
they
yeah,
are not.
I know that's true. See, the thing is, they are asking it as for the interview purposes, but when it comes to actual working, you'll not be asked to do anything in SVG. SVG or canvases, more those are more of like, for like, how should I say it? You're not going to be working for GE Capital, which basically deals with money and tables and grids and all that, and then they will expect you to draw like a star using SVG star and all that. They will not ask you to do all that. Yes, for an interview they will ask you because you should know about it. Okay. So what I'm trying to get at is read as much as you can. Like, that's the whole idea for me to give you assignments. That's the whole idea for me to, ask you to do Google researches and all that, because you should be independent on your own, right? Because when you join a company, I'm not going to be there to answer your questions, or Vishwa or anyone. You will be completely on your own. So when you have time over the weekends or anything like that, this is the time to learn, right? While you're taking the classes. Those of you who are sitting in guest house, you basically are done with the colleges and everything, who are in the bench right now. This is the time to basically, go through this list and read whatever you can able to read on the articles. And if you have any questions, you will ask me in the group and I'll tell you. Okay. But I try to capture the main concepts of HTML. And as moving forward in CSS and JavaScript also, some of these topics will get captured. Like I did not discuss at all about HTML tables. Okay. But that doesn't mean that it is not important. It is very much important. But I will cover that as I'm moving forward in the course. When I'm dealing with JavaScripts, I'll completely cover this HTML tables. In the meantime, if you're eager to know about HTML tables, please feel free. Go ahead, read about it. Okay. How to apply Hover to just cancel button. Neha, you're asking questions for advance, like, I'm not done with CSS. Okay, like I'll get to those topics. Okay, so don't worry about it. I'm not done with style sheets. I did not say like
We have to do it by our own. So
I did not ask you to do that also, right? I did not say anything.
okay.
So don't worry. When I'm done with my style sheets, you will get to answer all those questions that you're asking. Like Alekia just asked me like I think 2 times. How do you add multiple? I covered that. I'll be covering that. Yeah, I will covering all these topics. So don't worry about it.
No, the thing was my question was going to only Srini, and then I just saw like it's not going to you, so maybe I typed it, means I pasted it twice.
Yeah, it looks like it. But yeah, but I know. But don't worry all that. I'll covering that all. Don't worry. I'll cover all these topics. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyone else has any questions? Okay. If not, then that concludes today's class. Tomorrow, 10 o'clock, 10 morning, 10 a.m. Pacific time. Okay. See you guys. See you tomorrow. Bye.